The sponsor of this episode is Chadwell Supply, an OG in the multifamily industry. Chadwell is the largest privately owned maintenance and repair supplier, and they deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. To find out how Chadwell Supply will make your day better, visit www.chadwellsupply.com/difference.
Welcome to Decoding Multifamily, a video podcast that explores different aspects of multifamily operations and takes a deep dive into the important topics that affect the apartment industry. Watch as co-hosts Suzanne Hopson and Paul Marks engage with multifamily thought leaders, rising multifamily superstars, and apartment industry icons. Decoding is defined as the process of extracting meaningful and useful information. So watch closely as we begin Decoding Multifamily.
Well, welcome to Decoding Multifamily, powered by the Multifamily Media Network. The Multifamily Media Network is a free platform on a mission to inspire the next generation of multifamily leaders. With 14 different podcasts from a roster of hosts who are not only practicing multifamily experts, but also industry icons, we bring you the latest insights, trends, and success stories from the multifamily world. Stay informed about each unique podcast and catch up on the latest episodes by visiting multifamilymedianetwork.com. Plus, don't miss out on our educational and inspiring multifamily blogs. Tune in, get inspired, and transform your multifamily journey with us. So this is a new episode of Decoding Multifamily. My fantastic co-host, Suzanne Hopson, is with me here. And Suzanne, please introduce our guest.
I would be happy to. Thanks, Paul. And I always say this, but I really, truly am very excited to introduce our guest today. If you don't already know her, this is Karen Trueman. I've had the privilege of being able to speak with her on a panel, but many of you know her as a distinguished professional of Legend Management Group. And this is a premier management company. She's really known for her wealth of experience to pull from, and thus has been really a guiding force for people in our industry, especially the people that she works for day in and day out. Her expertise and dedication have made her a trusted name in the industry, which is why you might have already known who she was. And she's known for her ability to enhance both property values and also resident and employee experiences. So in today's episode, we are going to explore Karen's journey by decoding Karen, the challenges she's faced, and her insights into the ever-evolving world of property management. So welcome, Karen.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
What an honor.
Well, we are truly honored as well. And so, let's jump in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to be in property management?
You know, it's so funny. I think like so many people, I stumbled upon it. I think my story's kind of funny, but I don't know, I was going actually, so I grew up in Clearwater, Florida. On the beautiful white sandy beaches of Clearwater, was going to school to get my degree in teaching, wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And then one day, I don't know what happened. I just decided, I don't want to go to college anymore. I don't want to do this. I want to lay on the beach all day and go clubbing at night, right? That was my 19-year-old self. This is what I'm going to do with my life. I had a plan. My parents quickly informed me that would not be the lifestyle that I would be living. And if I wasn't going to go to college, then I would be packing my bags and moving up to Maryland to live with my older sister, who was in property management, and I would learn from her. So, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I packed up my bags and I didn't move to Philly, I moved to Wheaton, Maryland. Yeah. And I started my career with artery management as a leasing consultant when I was 19 years old. Mm-hmm. Here I am many, many years later. I'm not going to say how long because, it doesn't need to be said. But I don't know. I guess I just had a knack for it. Having my sister in the industry, she really helped guide and mentor me for many, many years. But I've held every role from a leasing consultant to a leasing manager. I remember we bought a community out in Glen Burnie, Maryland, and it was not the best community. And so I took on a position of resident service coordinator, which meant I dealt with all the complaints, all the service requests, all the rents, every complaint. And I learned so much in that role. I went on to an assistant manager, property manager. And I've been in my role now as director of talent development and brand reputation since 2016. And, it's full circle.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an elementary school teacher,
Mhm.
and now I am an adult educator. I am basically doing the same thing
Mhm.
that I probably would have been doing, but I think I'm probably paid better than I would have been if I stuck out into the right school system.
Mhm.
Don't get my summers off, but yeah, it's been a wild ride, and I loved every minute of it, and so I wouldn't trade it for anything.
A lot of journey, and it is slightly different than what we typically hear. It is sort of a falling in, but not really. You knew somebody, so you had some
Right.
thread. You weren't jumping into a totally unknown thing, which is what we typically see from people who've
It,
gotten into our business. Yeah.
That's true. But there was a period of time that my sister and I had a conversation where she said we can either be working professionals together or we can be sisters. But we're not
Mhm.
going to be able to be both.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Interesting. Mhm.
in your early 20s, you think you know everything, right?
Totally.
I learned a lot.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And whenever I see things pop out from Legend, it just reminds me of how legendary your mark is on what has happened with the organization, and just the way that you are so much a servant leader to those that you work with and teach. I know there's a lot of focus right now on training in general and people development, and people are sort of tightening the purse strings right now. What are some of the challenges that you're finding being in that role, if any, at your organization, or maybe hearing out in our multifamily space about, people development in general?
It's a tough one. I think, the cost of money right now is playing a big role in our budgets. I think when owners are looking at where are we going to find this money, training is an area that they're cutting, and it's unfortunate. I've been a big advocate for keeping that money in your budget because it's all about engaging your people and making sure they know how valued they are. And when you start taking away that money, then you're devaluing them in your organization, right? I think for us, I actually, it's funny, we were just having a conversation about it the other day here at Legend. I think for us, though, we have development plans. We're constantly trying to strengthen our bench strength. And so as we grow or as we have turnover, we want to make sure we have someone ready to step into that next role. And the only way to do that is by training them, by getting them ready, letting them attend industry events, gain those
Mhm.
designations and certifications that they need. And I was just did a session at Apartmentalize with Jen Picotti and a few other amazing women. And this was what we talked. We talked about this. We talked about, owners are worried. Why am I going to invest all this money in someone for them to turn around and go somewhere else? And yeah, it might happen. But you know what? If you don't invest the money, they're definitely going to leave you.
Mm.
So that's a
Yeah,
risk you have to outweigh that, right?
right.
So
One for sure, right? Like,
I think we just have to stay strong on making sure that we're putting the money into our people.
mm-hmm. You're right. That's a perspective I hadn't quite thought of, which is the employee themselves feeling like, oh, they're cutting back on the training. That just immediately devalues me and the organization.
Yeah.
That just really spoke to me right now, and it's very true. That's a part of the culture, right? Of
Right.
people feeling like they're important and that the company's investing into their progression, development, all of that. It's a really really good point. Do you find that you also have to continuously prove the ROI of what you do? That this does, we know that it directly affects the bottom line, because you have great people out there that are well trained and they're just going to execute better. But in terms of translating that into dollars and cents for owners, do you find that you have to do that maybe, or again, maybe not in your organization, but in the space in general?
Yeah, I think every line item in the budget we have to be able to defend, right?
Yeah.
I would say the best way that I have found to defend those training dollars is in employee engagement and turnover. If
Yeah.
you're retaining your people, so I think it's really trifold, right? You're bringing people into the organization because they see your culture, they see that you value your team members, they see you're investing into their development and growth, that you want them to grow with the company. So that's attractive to people that are looking for jobs. We're keeping people because of those reasons, right? So we're not having that expense of the turnover. But
Mhm.
then it's like that old saying, right? If we're making the internal customer happy, they're going to deliver that to the external customer. So then in turn, we're getting higher rents. We're retaining our residents because they can see how happy the employees are. So it absolutely, you can trickle it all the way down to rent growth. So it's
Yep.
not just about turnover expenses, but you can equivalate that to your rent growth, really.
Yeah, totally. And I think Mike Brewer just posted something about that, just about, happiness and, is it better? I can't remember the exact question, but it very much along the same lines of employees and how that affects resident satisfaction. And it's very, very true. It's very
You
true.
have to get creative sometimes when you're trying to get it to the black and white and to just to the dollar line item for some owners.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't get the feel good part of it, right? And so
Mhm.
you do have to get a little creative to show them how that really affects the bottom line.
Yeah. So it brings up another question, and that is how you've evolved over time with that role. And has it changed much since when you first stepped into that, with that hat? Have you had to change any methodology or way that you're doing your current role over time?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started at Legend in 2005 as a property manager. And at that time, I loved the property I worked at. I loved my team. I loved my residents. We were winning awards. I was there for 10 years and I wasn't going anywhere. And when promotions came along, I said, I don't want it. This is where I want to be. I stepped into a regional position and then ultimately into the role I'm in today. But when I stepped into this role, my predecessor was absolutely an amazing woman who really helped to develop the culture. She truly helped develop the culture here at Legend. And it was really hard coming in behind her.
Yeah.
And, many people know Jessica Vega. She unfortunately is no longer with us. But she was just such a beautiful person, a beautiful spirit, wanted to help everyone. And so, I came into this role in 2016 thinking, okay, I've got to be exactly like Jessica. She's amazing. I look up to her. I have to be exactly like her. And it took about, I would say, about a year before I had a reality check, which, part of it was me recognizing I'm never going to be Jessica. She's a different person than I am. And also, some of my, I had some peers that said, Karen, like, stop trying so hard. It's not coming across the right way. You're rubbing people the wrong way. You're trying too hard. And so I had to step back and really do, I would say, some soul searching. And I have a motto now that I really try to live by. In fact, it's something I journal almost every day. And that's, just do what you say you're going to do and be who you are. So I've learned, be your authentic self. If you want people to connect with you, if you want to get your messaging across, if you want to communicate appropriately, just be who you are, right? And that is going to show so much more than you trying to be someone that you're not. I think we all get a little we compare ourselves to people. I think they say that's one of the worst evils, right? Is comparison. And we
Mhm.
do. We compare ourselves to people all the time, but we're each so special. We each bring so much value, or we wouldn't be where we are today, or someone wouldn't have seen that in us and put us in the role that we're in. So I really just try to live by that, and I've evolved so much over the years. I really think because of that, just if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I try to make sure that the people at Legend, our team members, those are my number one priority. And so I try to do whatever I can to make sure they're heard and taken care of. And then just do it by being who I am.
Yeah.
Karen,
Whoa. That was great.
Karen,
Paul. Go ahead.
let me ask you, Karen, to give it a little description for the benefit of our audience about Legend, where you're headquartered, the types of properties, the footprint of where the properties are located and so forth, just so they get an idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are based out of McLean, Virginia, and we have communities in Northern Virginia and in Maryland, as far north as Baltimore. We are owner managed, and our owners are it's Elm Street Development. So we have a development side as well. The majority of our portfolio is developed in house. We have a few acquisitions over the years that we've picked up. But most everything we've developed ourselves. So we don't do any fee manager, third party management, which I think is also what helps with our culture and our core values. It's very consistent across the portfolio because we're in a smaller geographical area. It's very easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's easier for us to maintain that, right?
Yeah.
But we have A class and B class properties, mid-rise to garden style, all over. And we have about almost 5,000 units now, with another 2,700 coming online within the next 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
So we're very excited. I remember when Legend had 5 communities, and it's just been exciting to watch the growth that's happened.
Yeah. I love that. And, a lot of companies, we talk to different people, and depending on their geographical location, some areas of the country are experiencing great growth and other areas of the country are not. So the subject matter that we talk about, varies greatly, but it's really great to hear that, you've been able to really stick to the growth plan despite all the challenges in our marketplace right now. It's very cool.
Well, one thing I'll say is a lot of the land that we're developing on, we've had for many years.
Yeah, gotcha.
And our owners have been very savvy in determining when is the right time to start development. So we've sat on a lot of stuff for many years, just waiting.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Yeah. Extremely smart. One of the things that you said when we were talking before was it reminded me of the book, The Gap and the Gain, about the comparison with others. And so that just really resonated with me. And I think it does, with our counterparts in crime out there, there's been a lot of talk about just imposter syndrome, for example, not feeling like you belong in the room. That's a lot of the chatter. And I think that's really, great that you have put out there about being authentic, but also about the integrity piece that you talked about, like doing what you say you're going to do. That's really the trust piece, right? Where people can say, yeah, I can trust that person. And then they can believe everything thereafter. So yeah, really cool. I just wanted to acknowledge you for that. It's awesome. It speaks to me.
I get deep sometimes, Suzanne.
Oh, I do too. So Paul's going to keep us a little lighter, I think, probably. This was our walk conversation, I think, when we were dissecting the world and solving it in about
exactly
a mile. Yeah.
Right.
So what kind of trends do you see really happening in multifamily now in this, this time that we're in? Anything different or anything that's caught your eye or anything you're really excited about?
I think everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's talking about that. I love it. I love the functionalities. I love the way it gives us more time back, right? We're allowing our team members to focus on more important things, such as the customer, right? And so I am embracing it. We're using a lot of video technology right now, which has really helped also with marketing as well as training. We love that. I think, however, with all of the AI, a lot of the focus right now is in restructuring staffing. And Suzanne, I know that, we've talked a bit about that. And so I know that's a big topic of conversation, but I actually look at it a different way. I'm not only looking at AI, but I'm also looking at the workforce that is aging out.
Mm-hmm.
I work a lot with students and young professionals getting into the industry. And so I'm always thinking about, we need to focus on that. Who's coming into our industry and all of the technology that they grew up with, right? So they already know a lot of the stuff that's new to us who have been in the industry. And so I find that very fascinating, and allowing a lot of this newer, younger generation who's coming into the workforce to help to train the people that have been around a bit longer to adapt to it, because change is scary, and especially when it's this kind of change. So I don't see us like getting rid of the workforce. I see us just bringing in talent that understands the technology that we need to do our jobs right now.
Wow. That's a great way of saying it, because I think you're absolutely right. I'm fascinated just listening to how they utilize it.
Right.
And it's out of the box thinking for me at times, because I'm just like, wow, I never thought about how we could apply this. And although it's a little more difficult to keep up these days, I do think that you're right. There's a lot of opportunity for them to teach up. And that openness to being able to see that and do that, I think to your credit, is a very fresh way of looking at it, because there's a lot of opinions about that younger generation coming in, and I think yours is a totally healthy one.
Chadwell Supply is the proud sponsor of the Multifamily Media Network. Chadwell Supply is the largest privately owned MRO supply company and is committed to the multifamily industry. They deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. Chadwell Supply offers valuable resources such as maintenance training, a dedicated renovations team, and procurement platform assistance, ensuring multifamily properties operate more efficiently. Partnering with Chadwell Supply helps communities stand out in an increasingly competitive market. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com/difference.
Yeah.
Well, they're coming in, and I was talking with someone. I'm preparing for a session with our local apartment association, and we were talking about the fact that some of the professionals that are just coming into the workforce right now don't know a pre-COVID workforce. They don't know. So all these things that we think are new and innovative and, oh my gosh, post-COVID, that's the norm for people just now entering our workforce.
Yeah, and it's not only that; it's that the people that have been in the industry for a few years have never seen a down cycle, and like the cycles that we've all seen over the last 3 decades or so. But something you mentioned, Karen, and I want to circle back to it, about how you work with students. I know you're big on working with a program in Virginia. I have personally had on my radio show several times the Ball State University program for property management and so forth.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that and your involvement in there.
Oh, sure. I'm sit on the advisory board for the property management department of Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech actually was the first university to launch this property management degree. And there are just a handful of them throughout the country. And it's exciting. It's really fun. We have some great industry professionals on the board. So we get to help them with their curriculum. What are we seeing as industry trends? What do the students really need to be focusing on as they're coming out of college and into the workforce? And so that's one piece of it. I've also been very fortunate to get to go in each semester and speak to their intro to property management class. I have a session on career pathing and a realistic view of what property management looks like at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of letting them know, like, this is where you're going to start. These are the starting salaries. This is what your trajectory looks like, et cetera. And so that's a lot of fun. I also have an internship program here at Legend that I oversee, and we mainly recruit out of Virginia Tech, looking for those property management majors, obviously hoping to recruit them after graduation. But my whole goal is to help all of these students in these various ways. I'm also a mentor throughout the year to different students, but just to help them to learn what our industry is all about, whether they decide to pursue it after graduation or not. I mean, we all know, like, there's all these college degrees out there that no one ever actually uses, right? But, some of them end up going a different direction, but many of them end up in the industry, and I've loved watching them grow. I stay in contact with a lot of them that have interned for us throughout the years. And so that's really rewarding, and it's really fun to watch. We've recently just started a new program here at Legend, and I can't take any credit because it's our talent acquisition manager. But we're now recruiting out of the high schools and doing apprenticeship programs, both in leasing and maintenance, for those students who aren't looking to pursue a college degree and they want to go directly into the workforce. And so we're working really closely with an organization. We're just starting to work with Urban Alliance, and that's what their focus is. We're also working with them with our local IREM chapter. But Lauren Hall, who is our talent acquisition manager, she's been working directly with local high schools to get these programs up and running. And so that's been really exciting. And she and I both just joined a group with NAA and IREM, came together for a workforce planning committee to focus on those high school students and helping them to learn about our industry. So it's exciting. We've been focusing on the college students, but now we're taking it a step further and we're saying, okay, because how many people fall into our industry? They don't all go to college for it. They don't know what it is. Yeah. So we're trying to get the word out, and we've had one hire who went from apprenticeship. He graduated. We hired him on as a maintenance technician. He's fabulous. We've got our 2 more starting shortly.
Great.
Yeah. Talent's hard to find, so we've got to go find it and create it.
I certainly hope that our audience is listening to that as an example of creative ways to do things. I mean, that is a fantastic story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How did you put that? I almost see like a t-shirt thing. Is it find it and create it, or create it and find it?
We got to find the talent and create the talent.
It's so good.
Right.
So good.
Oh, no, like through the hiring, all the many years we've been hiring, sometimes your best talent is someone who's never been in our industry, and you teach them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exciting for them and for us. And a lot of times those are the team members. They're going to stay with you.
Yeah, totally. Well, you're helping them with their development and their career pathing, which
Right.
is, sort of their lifeline as they go through something they're not familiar with. But to Paul's point, I think it's, I hope everyone is listening, because I hear all the time that people are having a shortage of, qualified people too, not qualified in the sense of skill sets, but just core value fits, all of it.
Yeah.
And to go seek it and provide opportunity for people that may not know otherwise is just, well, it's cool, Karen. It's really good.
And you've got to take your chances, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, the last 2 hires, this last spring, we hired 2 students out of Virginia Tech. We hired this student out of high school. We don't actually even have open positions for any of them. However, we know that eventually we'll probably have a position open up between our growth and turnover. Why not get them in, get them trained? They have the right culture fit. Their values align with ours. We're hiring for the person. We can teach the skills.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The other thing you said about, sometimes hiring outside the industry, that too, at the beginning of their career, they don't know any different. They don't have a lot of bad habits, right?
Yes.
They're a little easier and malleable to train.
Yeah.
Love the experience if you need that injected into your company right away. But I think that fresh approach is also really nice too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that kind of leads me to my next question on technologies. And I know you and I have also talked a lot about this. We talked a little bit about at the beginning on, AI, but what other technologies are you utilizing in the training space that makes that, easier or better or more efficient than what you've been doing in the past? Or is that on the charts to be done? Like, what are you finding out there is making training itself or people development itself easier as a technology?
I'll be honest, for us, we use some basic training technology in terms of video content. We work with Edge to Learn for a lot of our compliance training. But I'm going to be honest, it's the hands-on in-person training for us. We've tried other technology training platforms, that virtual VR training. We've done different things, and what we have found over the last couple of years, and we're fortunate because we're small enough and geographically we can do it,
Mhm.
it's the hands-on approach, whether that be on the leasing side or the maintenance side, especially the maintenance side. Being able to bring our trainers in there and pull an AC unit apart and show them, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, and actually having them do it and talking with each other and sharing ideas with each other and best practices. That has really been our best tool, is having good training people.
Mhm.
You know, we definitely use virtual training in terms of Microsoft Teams. Like every July I run what I call a micro learning session. It's every Wednesday because our offices are closed until 1 o'clock every Wednesday for admin time. We throughout the month of July, I have the accounting team on for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour every Wednesday morning, covering some aspect of accounting. And that's all done virtually. That's great. We're doing a chat GPT training virtually. So we'll do some things virtual. We do a lot of virtual huddles where we'll bring people together, information sharing, things that are changing, new implementations, things like that. But as far as outsourcing things to tech, different platforms, we're not really doing a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been
I'm being
reading a lot
honest.
about that lately with again in this market or this condition, I like to call it. People are, touting going back to the basics or scaling back on prop tech, getting more personalized with it, not just out of cost savings, but also as we've evolved from COVID, there's been this virtual everything to now a mix and really being able to speak to the learner as well as the prospect as well as the resident from all angles. And so, yeah, I can totally appreciate that. That's
And
awesome. Yeah.
we recognize everyone has different
Mm-hmm.
preferred methods of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we will do in-person trainings, we'll also, put together a video that will house, they could go back and review it if they prefer to do that. If they would like, documents, we provide resources that way. So we try to cover all different aspects of learning methods. But I think people are burnt out of the technology side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And, we find that when we do in-person live training or even virtual live training with our team members, there's more collaboration, there's more sharing of ideas, asking questions than just having them go and do, a virtual reality training with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Well, you've just given us like 30 nuggets, right? So our audience has just walked away with a bazillion gifts. So thank you for that. But I'd like to go in maybe a little deeper with you
Okay.
because this is about decoding you.
Okay.
This is really about maybe some of the pitfalls you've ran into and how you overcame them over time. And I don't know, do you have any stories like that you've experienced where you had to do something, you figured it out, the outcome, either turned out the way you thought it was going to be or didn't? How did you get past that as a leader?
It's funny thinking about that. I would say probably the only real I've been very fortunate. Like I said, I've been with Legend for 19 years, and everything pre-Legend now, I don't even remember anymore.
Right.
So I've been very fortunate to work for a really fantastic company. I think probably, just learning the role that was right for me and where I would add the most value to the organization as well as to myself.
Mm.
I definitely had to go through some things, right? I had to learn that the natural career path that everyone assumes we go through in this industry is not always the right career path for each individual. I'll definitely, I'll say when I went into, the regional role, and at the time it wasn't even technically a regional, it was a senior property manager. So I oversaw properties, but I still reported to the regional, who then reported to the vice president. And there were a lot of layers, and I wasn't great at it. It was tough. The people part was great. I understood everything about operating a property successfully. There were a lot of layers, and there were definitely some obstacles there. And so I learned that, okay, as I said, when I got into this role, that was the role for me. And so from that, I've really try to teach with everyone that I work with. Don't just go that path because you think that's the route you're supposed to go. If you love marketing, by all means, let's talk. What can we do to get you into a marketing type role? If you love IT, if you love accounting, believe it or not, we have some people that love accounting. Like, let's talk about that, because you got to follow your passion if you want to be successful. So I would say, like, it takes, you learn, right, through the years. And I would say that's probably one thing that has really impacted me. I would say also just learning how to say no.
Good one.
I like to be involved in everything.
Mm,
I like to be involved in a little bit of everything, and sometimes you've got to learn to say no so that you can focus your efforts where they truly belong.
yes, it's a hard one. It's a hard
It's
one.
rough.
And you already have like so many things going on, like all the things that you're involved in. It's like, yeah, I
I
don't
got
know
a
how you
few.
can say yes to another thing.
I have a few.
I don't know. Woo. Yeah.
Suzanne, we have time for one more question.
Well, you've just given like the last question we always ask. You've given the answer, which is, what would you do, for your younger self, or what piece of advice could you give to people out there? And I think what you just said was really powerful. And sometimes you can't help it, right? It's like you got to go through the road rash, as I call it, to be able to know thyself and embrace that person, to be successful, as you said. So, given all the plates that you have spinning, how do you find balance? How do you do that for yourself and in your personal life, in your work life? How do you do that?
Other than wine, no.
Red or white?
Depends on the season.
That's it. Good answer.
As I mentioned before we even started recording, I am a little ADHD, and my husband says my house is running full of squirrels because I'm constantly like, but I have to make sure that I find some downtime. They laugh at me at work all the time because I'm always like, okay, guys, I know I'm kind of a nerd. I do this, but I get up really, really early in the morning to make sure that I have time for me before anyone else in my household is awake, before my emails are going off, before anyone needs something from me. I make sure that I take care of me first. I take some time to meditate, to journal, to reflect, to some read. I got to work out, got to get a workout in, got to get outside. Those things all just, they make me happy. They take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like, okay, now I can give to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned when to shut down at the end of the day. There were times where I would be working until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I'm not going to lie, I saw it. We do annual engagement surveys with our team members, which is another thing that falls under my umbrella that I love. But I saw a comment in there about corporate team members sending emails or Teams messages at 9 and 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, that's me. I know they're talking about me. And I was like, oh my God, if I'm making someone feel this way because I'm just doing what I think is right, that's not okay. So if I want them to disconnect and balance work and play, balance their home life with their work life, I have to do the same thing. So I've learned to just like, okay, at the end of the day, stop. I tell my team, there's never a training emergency. I promise you, it'll be there tomorrow.
Training emergency,
right? Yeah, there's no training emergency. And we did a podcast or a webcast at Legend recently for International Women's Month, and we had some amazing speakers join us from around the industry. And one of our speakers said something that resonated with me, and she said, self-care is not selfish, it's selfless. And I was like, you know what? That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to take care of yourself first.
Love it.
Well, Karen, I always ask our guests to tell us a little bit about how someone could reach them if they wanted to reach out to them, find out more, not only about you, but also about Legend. What would be the best way to do that?
Sure. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Karen Trueman on LinkedIn. You can email me, K Trueman, and it's TRUEMAN, Trueman, at legend-mgt.com. I'm happy to connect with anyone, happy to share anything about Legend, about any of the programs that I've talked about as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And the one takeaway that I've got from this is that at the fork in the road where you could have laid on the beach and gone clubbing at night, you've made the
Yes.
decision to get into the multifamily industry. So that to me, that pretty much says it all right there.
Sometimes I wonder. There are some days I wonder if I could have had a different life. But
Yeah.
we're good. I love what I do. I wouldn't be in this industry for all these years if I didn't make the right decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I want to remind our audience, if you would like to find out more about not only this podcast, Decoding Multifamily, but the other podcasts on the Multifamily Media Network, go to the multifamilymedianetwork.com and subscribe to the weekly newsletter that will list all the different exciting things that are happening on the platform. Also, you have some great blogs there from multifamily industry leaders. So please feel free to do that. And we will be back again soon with the next episode. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Decoding Multifamily video podcast, and please tune in to future episodes. If you would like to subscribe to our weekly newsletter or discuss being a podcast guest on Decoding Multifamily, please go to multifamilymedianetwork.com. Thank you for watching Decoding Multifamily.
Thank you again to Chadwell Supply for sponsoring this episode. Chadwell Supply delivers unforgettable service with next-day delivery, online and in-person maintenance training, and procurement platform assistance to make ordering simpler. Visit www.chadwellsupply.com/difference to learn how Chadwell Supply will make your day